What's up, everyone? It's Jenny Smith here, founder of Built for the Palms and Built for the Palms podcast. We're so excited to have another episode tonight. We have a really special guest. For those of you who are tuning in that are not familiar with Built for the Palms, we are your fitness platform app for all things pro cheer, specifically fitness. We have a professional trainer who designed all of our workouts that are specifically geared towards professional cheerleaders. So if you're auditioning for a professional team, if you're already on a professional team, or if you just want to train like a professional cheerleader, we have you covered. So tonight, I'm really excited about the guest that we have. Her name is Shelby. She has kind of done it all, and I'm really excited to hear her story and have her share her experience with us. She's a former NFL cheerleader, a former NBA dancer. She now owns her own professional cheerleading team, which I'm excited to learn a lot more about. She's a former pageant queen. She's a wife. She's a mom. She seriously does it all. So I'm super excited to welcome Shelby Dixon.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Really excited to be a part of this today.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Like I said, I'm super excited to hear kind of your background and your journey and have everyone listen in as well. So I guess to start out, do you want to just kind of give us the rundown kind of in your words, just kind of your background, how you got involved with dance, with cheer, and then just to kind of give everyone a background.
Absolutely. So, just to start from the beginning, I always like to say, I wasn't one that started dancing at the age of 2 or 3, like I am hoping for my daughter to, but cheer was something I've always wanted to do when I was younger. And I started with gymnastics, like at the age of 9.
Yeah.
And from there, like most youthful little girls that aspire to cheer or dance, I cheered in with my middle school, and then I cheered in high school. And from there, I think, you start to gain insight on the cheer and the dance world a little bit. Kind of tapped into the competitive cheerleading with my local gymnastics facility. I did competitive cheer for 2 years. And then transitioned to college and wanted to cheer in college. I went to a pretty big school. I went to University of South Carolina, and they are pretty big on the cheer and dance side, but was a little too intimidated to try out for the dance team as well as the cheerleading squad. So I did a small little hip hop ensemble at Carolina for maybe 2 years. And so very, very, I like to tell people I wasn't studio dancing for years. I think a lot of mine is my passion. So when I came out of Carolina, football is my thing. I love football. And I remember watching a game and was like, how do you become an NFL cheerleader? How does one just do that? Yeah. How does one just get into that? Literally looked up the auditions, got myself together. If I'm putting this all in a nutshell, went out and auditioned, made the team, and cheered for 5 years for the Panthers, and then was like, I'm not done. I want to do NBA. So went out. There's some in between stories there, but went out for the Charlotte Hornets Honeybees and did NBA for 3 years. And so that's kind of my pro story in a nutshell.
Yeah. That's awesome. What made you want to make the switch after doing NFL to NBA? Did you just kind of want a new experience, or?
Yeah. So as much as football is near and dear to my heart, I always watched the NBA dancers and kind of wanted to get into that field and wanted to feel what it would feel like to be an NBA dancer. In NFL and NBA are two totally different arenas. And so, not to mention the coach that coached and currently coaches the Honeybees. I just loved her. I loved her style. I used to take some of her classes on the side. She offers classes just during the off season. And I loved her coaching style. And was I'd love to dance for her, and said, hey, I'm going to go for it.
How cool. That's interesting because it's like, I feel like most people like the team or their reason is like, oh, their uniform is so cute. But that's cool that you liked her and then she got to be your coach. I think that's really cool.
It was like a layered thing. Like I liked her. And then I was like, but the way she structures her team, like these girls are amazing. And, you know, her dance style. So it was just so different. It was almost like a challenge coming from NFL where everything is so on your toes and, you know, more palmy. Then you go to NBA and it's like, okay, everything's a little more grounded and there's a lot more hip hop. There's more genres. So it was nice to kind of change that switch.
Yeah. A lot more games too, right?
Whoa.
A lot because you danced at every single game. I mean, I was only used to
like 10 games. 10
games a season.
Yeah, that was a big change. Literally going from to 8 regular season, 2 preseason games to 42 home games.
Oh my gosh.
And that was one of the main reasons I was like, I'd never be able to do NBA. Like, how do these ladies do NBA? You know, you have rehearsals on top of all these games. But there were 42 games and you on that team, we got like 5 to 6 games off, which is still a lot of games.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more intensive as far as the scheduling goes.
Yeah. What about, was the practice schedule more rigorous or was it about the same?
You know, okay, maybe a little. It was a little more rigorous. And I would say that because we had more games, but there were some weeks where there may be 3 games in a week, or think about March Madness where, you know, there's game after game after game. So it may be rehearsal on Tuesday, game on Wednesday, rehearsal on Thursday, game on Friday, but then we may have to rehearse one more time that week because we have another game on Sunday. And so it's like,
oh my gosh,
adding in a rehearsal. And then our coach, she was very, she liked to do different genres. She liked to do like different theatrics within our performances. So sometimes it would be extra performances for rehearsal attire or props or different things like that. So I would say it was more because I know with NFL, it was like strictly Sunday games.
Yeah.
Maybe a Monday night or a Thursday night. And that schedule stayed pretty consistent.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. Oh my gosh. I feel like just the one game every week like killed me.
Right?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So then where did the pageants come into play in all of this? Oh. And then when did you start your own dance team?
Yeah. So no, I can definitely dig. Yes. No, I can. I'm going to move this pillow because it's getting on my nerves. I can definitely dig into everything. I really gave like a snapshot just because I was like, maybe I don't need to dig in. Maybe all the questions will come later. No. So when I started with pageants, that's another thing I started late in the game. I started in pageants again in high school. I did I ran for my school, Miss Orangeburg Wilkinson. And then when I went off to college, I ran in a couple of pageants that were fraternity based, Miss Alpha, I did Omega. There was a couple of fraternity based pageants. Alpha Phi Alpha, Omega Psi Phi. But more importantly, after those pageants is when I decided I wanted to run for Miss South Carolina. So I started there, knew absolutely nothing. I get there and all these girls are gorgeous and beautiful and their gowns are bedazzled to beyond. And I'm I had no idea what I was stepping into, but I think that was my entry into those larger scale pageants, realizing, okay, so this is the real deal if I'm going to do this. And so when I got more in tune with what I needed to do, I competed for Miss North Carolina. I actually had to compete for Miss Charlotte first. And I won that state or that my county or city, as you may. Yeah. And then then I went off to compete for the state title, Miss North Carolina.
Was this USA?
South Carolina was USA. Okay. And I wish I knew more then. I know now. I wish I knew more. because that system has just taken off. But Miss North Carolina was America. And that was funny thing. I was going into my second season as a TopCat while I was trying to compete for Miss North Carolina. And so that was a struggle.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
that was a struggle
would be a lot.
Yeah, it was hard. If I'm getting candidly honest, I don't know that it was 100% supported for me to do the pageant. Because it's like, oh, you're taking your attention off of Panthers.
I can see that.
Yeah. And so it was hard for me to focus and give all of my, 100% input into the pageant. And so I don't think I gave everything I could. Because I was like, well, I'm ready to get back. I'm missing on rehearsals. I'm missing out on this. And so it was a huge commitment, but that was fun because then I went off and obviously competed for Mrs. I took a lot of time off and then went and competed for Mrs. USA. I got the title of Mrs. North Carolina, competed for Mrs. USA, and then I won that title.
That's amazing.
So that was great. But I will say, while I was in the midst of my NFL career as TopCats, that was hard to try to do other things.
Yeah, I can imagine. So I'm a little familiar with pageants. That's why I was asking about USA. I don't share this that often, but I did pageants like way back. I held the title of Miss Houston Teen USA in my teen days. It didn't last long though. It was like a couple years. I was similar to you. I had no idea what I was doing. And I just sometimes ignorance is bliss and you walk into those situations and you just kind of you do better than you would have if you had a bunch of pressure. I think that's what happened to me because then after that, I went on to some of the bigger ones and I crumbled and I just I couldn't publicly speak. I was so nervous. It didn't go well. But
that was a huge one though. Teen USA, that's big.
No, Houston.
Yeah, Houston Teen USA.
Yeah, but not not you're over here competing at Miss USA and I'm over Houston, Texas. It was fun though. It was fun, but I can't imagine doing that while I was cheering. Oh my gosh, that would be a lot. So what was a lot? What titles did you hold?
So Miss Charlotte is that's small. That's not I was Miss North Carolina. No, I competed for Miss North Carolina. I did not win that title, but Mrs. USA is probably my largest title.
That's huge.
And most recent title.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. I don't know. I think I will do another Mrs. pageant, but I'm let life settle a little bit more before I do another Mrs. pageant.
When you won that title, did you have kids yet, or was this before kids?
So I had one. So I have two.
Okay.
But I had my oldest, Harper, and she. And I think that was a way for me to get into something else, I was like, okay, I've done in Charlotte, I've done NFL, I've done NBA. I would love to dance some more, but I don't think we're moving anytime soon. So what's next? I decided to do the Mrs. pageant. And when I decided to do that, she had to be around 8 months old. Wow. And I was like, I know I have a little more time to prepare to hit on stage in swimsuit. So I had about 4 or 5 more months after that. Because when I competed, she was a little over 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
How fun.
Yeah.
That's so fun. It's bringing me back. So wait, okay. So when you held that title, were you cheering at the time that you were Mrs. USA? Or
no.
Because that was after. Sorry, I'm getting my timeline all confused.
Literally. So I had just, like I said, I had wrapped up my last season with the Honeybees in 2017. Okay. And then I had Harper in 2018. And then I competed in 2019. So I was yearning for something else.
Yeah.
I was like,
I get that though. I feel like now that I'm retired too, it's the same thing. You get done and when I don't know, it sounds like you did a lot as well, but when you strive for something and then it's such a big part of your life for such a long time, and
It is.
it's competitive and it's a commitment, and then it just ends, and you're like, what do I do now? I need something to like fill that void.
Because literally, I was on Facebook the other day, and one of my timeline things came up that says this was 4 years ago today, and it was showing. I think maybe it was probably my last year auditioning for Honeybees, or maybe that was my retirement year. Nevertheless, it was pictures of me at auditions. And I'm like, I kind of miss that, like, that feeling that you would get during an audition. It's like that, that adrenaline of excitement, but nerves at the same time. I'm like, I kind of miss that feeling.
Yeah, no, I know. The Dolphins just had their auditions.
They did.
They did. And I saw it, of course, all over. And last year, everything was virtual. And this year, I think it was part virtual, but then they did like the final show with like friends and family. And I was seeing all the videos and same thing. I was like, oh my gosh.
I miss that. Yeah.
I miss that. But yeah, it was exciting times.
And Dolphins was on my radar because I was like, you know what? If I go to another team, I'm going to stay on the East Coast. This was like a year or two ago. I was like, there's Reds there. Well, they're not that anymore. There's Washington, and then there's Dolphins. And I'm like, I don't think I'm going to go too much farther around the East Coast. That's like the closest I'm going to stay. But I'm like, those are the only two other teams that I would consider.
Yeah. Dolphins is fun. But...
Yeah. And like I said, I think NFL is near and dear to my heart. When I started with TopCats, of course I did year after year. I was captain my last year there. And I think I was aiming for, pushing to maybe stay a couple more years, but I was like, it's my time. So let's find something else. And that's when I was like, NBA is right across the way.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny how I've like a lot of my friends that I've talked to that have retired. It's funny. Everyone has that same sentiment. It's like when you're done, you're just done. You're kind of ready. Because for me, I wasn't going to be done, but it was right whenever COVID hit. Because my last year cheering was 2019 to 2020. Yeah. And I was going to do another year, and it was just timing was weird and COVID hit, and there was so many other things going on in my life. And I ended up just deciding that was my time.
That would be a weird time.
So yeah, it was a little difficult, but at the same time, I kind of had that feeling like you mentioned, like I was at peace with it. And I had a good run and ready for the next chapter of my life. But
it's a hard decision though. And it's like, I feel like now today with social media, it's like once I put it out there, it's real. So
exactly. Oh my gosh. I can't take it back once you post on Instagram.
So I'm like, I'm hanging up my boots. I'm hanging up my palms. And it's like, wait, am I really doing this? Like, this is it.
I can't take it back now.
Nope.
Yeah, that's funny. I know. And a lot of people have asked me like if I'm going to try out again.
Right.
For Dolphins. And I'm like, no, you don't understand.
No.
When you're done, like you're done with, like you can't just go. I mean, I guess you could, but it's not something people do frequently.
No. And here's the funny thing. Was it after Honeybees or before? Honestly, no, it was before. After, I mean. I was just yearning for more because I got married after Honeybees. And then I was like, maybe I'll try for TopCats again. And I'm like, you don't do that. Like,
you don't do that.
You don't do that. And I was like, what the worst thing would be is you go back and then you don't make it. Now you've kind of jacked up your legacy. Like, just don't
yeah. It's also like, if you spend 3 years on a team, you've kind of like built that veteran status, you might be a captain. And then if you take a couple years off and come back, it's weird because you're like, am I rookie all over again?
Right.
Where am I at on the totem pole here? Like that was always my thought process.
Same. I know some young ladies that I danced with that did that. And for some it panned out great. And then for some it did not pan out as great. And it's like how you bounce back from that in a sense.
Yeah.
So that for me, that's always scary. Like, let me hold on to what I have.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let a good thing remain a good thing.
Yeah.
And don't risk like having that, I don't know, that, like you said, that would be difficult if something were to go wrong or you
That
not
would be
make it or
hard.
something.
So that transition though was great for me. Like just going from and a lot of people tend to ask me, they'll say, which one did you like the most? And I'm honest in saying, I'm like, this is no like, you know, cushy type answer. Like they're legit totally different. Like you got NFL where you're out. Well, you were outside too with Dolphins.
Yeah.
Sound like you're outside. Sound like you're outside in the elements with the heat, the rain. In the Carolinas, you can kind of get anything or down south period. And you're going to go with whichever way the wind blows versus NBA. You know, the dance style is different. You're way much up close and personal with the fans. Like literally
like everything's smaller in general. Like the people,
arena,
more intimate.
People. Yep. And the people can literally, especially if you're doing things in the stands. I know at the Hornets arena, you know, we would go do things in the stands and like the fans could literally reach out and touch you. So it was more intimate, but another positive is you're inside. And so I don't care what it's doing outside. I don't have to worry about my hair, makeup, lashes coming off.
Sweating like rain just dripping down your body.
Exactly. But that's, you know, getting that question. I'm like, they're two totally different. And it just depends on what you're looking for. And the styles are different. And so, but I love both.
Yeah. I was about to say how cool that you got to experience both though.
I know. I was thinking about that the other day and I was like, I was trying to count. I know there's a handful of, I mean, the number's getting larger of pro dancers, but there's not as many that have done in Charlotte, like Hornets and Panthers. There's a good bit. There's some alumni that I've met that have done both. And a couple girls that I danced with, we danced with TopCats together and then we went over to Honeybees together. But it is exciting to have been able to have done both.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And kind of be able to share that.
Yeah. And to kind of give that feedback. Because like you said, that was going to be one of my questions I was going to ask you is which one you liked more. But that totally makes sense that it's just so different.
I do think though, and I said this in the beginning, I was like, football just has pulls on my heartstrings a little bit. And so it's just a different, I always joke and say when people come to basketball games, they get dressed up and they're looking all super cute, whether it's like a date night or a night out. But then football, people just kind of let loose. And so the crowd difference is sometimes the crowd in a football game, like 80,000 fans versus 20, the crowd's more rowdy. And then, you know, you're outside. So there was like pyro and just a whole lot more element, which made the game a lot bigger. If that makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. And you're dancing to people that are so much further away in a football stadium because there's people, you know, all the way up there. Whereas basketball, they're still pretty far up there, but not near as far as a giant football stadium.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a big thing. Like dance big because they see you. You're this little. You're
a little tiny ant on the field. So when in all of this did you start your dance team? What's the name of it again?
Pro Force.
So was this recent or tell us about that?
Yes. So this is fairly recent, 2019.
Okay.
So again, when I wrapped up my professional dance career, pretty much retired, so to speak, I was looking into coaching. And I still work very closely with the Honeybees. I work very closely with that coach, assisting with games. A lot of times if it's a game that she can't make, I'll step in for her for those games, assist the girls on game days. And I don't want to give myself the name and say assistant coach for that team, but she leans on me if she's like, I'm out of town this week and there's 2 games. Can you work those games for me? So I'm lucky enough to still have that connection with the Hornets.
Yeah. That's cool.
In that organization. Yeah, I love it. And so I knew that doing that, I wanted to do more. And so I'm still doing that. But I had gotten, it was through word of mouth. There was a lacrosse team here in Charlotte, and they were looking for a restructuring of their dance team. So they were looking for a new coach. And I interviewed with the director of entertainment and got hired as the head coach they were called the Foxes. And it was Charlotte Lacrosse. They were the Hounds. And so I got hired by the Hounds to be the head coach for their dance team. This was in 2019. Well, the commissioner of the lacrosse league ended up decommissioning the Hounds. And so they let that team go and said they'd be back in 2021. Well, in the midst of me putting this team's auditions together for the 2019 season, recruiting girls, doing everything for auditions, literally on their final audition day, the director of entertainment was with me at auditions, and she came in as we were about to announce the finalists. And she said, the commissioner just let this team go. There's not going to be a dance team. There's no more team at all.
After you had done all of that, like you were ready for auditions.
Yes. Like I was about to announce the girls that advanced to finals. And I had to go in and deliver that news and say, the commissioner let go of this team. So it's not that they're letting go of the dance team. There is no team.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I know. So I felt horrible for the girls because I know how that experience was kind of ripped away from them. And the girls that were doing the team the year before, they were still a team. Yeah. So those girls also, they're not. So that was ripped from them as well. So a close partner that I was working with, he owns a couple of studios here in Charlotte. And he basically said, I told him, I said, I'm going to take this team. I'm going to take these girls. It's only about 13 of them. And I'm going to make my own team. And maybe we'll pitch some other teams in the city. And he was like, I'll support you, do what you need. And I took those 13 girls that were going to make it to finals. Actually, no, I took all of the girls that it came out for the auditions. And I said, I can't promise you anything, but I'm going to start a team and we'll see what happens. And I think I took all 20, and out of the 27 left and 13 remained. Okay. And luckily enough, I didn't know Charlotte had an arena team, but the arena team here in Charlotte, we pitched the team to them and they said, yeah, we'll take dancers. And so it's kind of taken off from there. They are the official cheerleaders for the Charlotte Thunder. That's the arena football team here in Charlotte. Okay. And I kind of have taken that team almost as like I hate it, kind of like a developmental league kind of, but the caliber of girls that are starting to come out are not necessarily in need of development. They are great.
Oh, they're awesome. So do they do a lot of like community stuff too, and appearances and that sort of thing? Okay.
Yes. So same thing. A lot of the owners for the arena team, we're leaning heavily on them this year so the girls can get more out in the community, because then right after the 2019 season, we ran into COVID. So that kind of took away some other opportunities for them to get into the community, but we have picked back up on that for sure. But yeah, I try to structure it for ladies that may want to go pro, whether they're doing Panthers or Hornets or any other team. This is kind of like, I say, on the job training.
Yeah, I was about to say kind of like a stepping stone.
Yes.
To get, because when I lived in Dallas, I danced in Dallas for a while and actually tried out for the Cowboys cheerleaders. They have a lot of teams similar to that.
Teams.
Smaller,
they do.
Kind of like arena football or even like the D-League basketball teams.
Yep.
And a lot of people will do those teams to get experience and just to kind of like get some professional, it's still professional dancing, right? But to get some of that under your belt to try out for, and just kind of like continue to work your way up and just get, meet people, meet other dancers. So I think that's wonderful. That's a really good resource and opportunity for those girls.
Because a lot of girls will say, well, you have some insight, or you dance for both teams. What kind of advice can you give me? So it does help for girls that are on the team for me to physically see them and say, well, this is what we're doing on my team. But if you're going out for this team, this is how we're going to have to structure you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of try to intertwine both styles, NFL and NBA, to get a feel of both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's so good because, like you said, not knowing what route they want to take.
Right.
So give them the opportunity to kind of get the experience of both in a way.
And some of them have no idea what they want to do. They just know they want to dance for a pro team.
Yeah. I feel like that was kind of like me. I'm similar to you. I didn't grow up like with a whole bunch of technical training or dance for years. I cheered, but kind of like competitive cheerleading. And then it wasn't until I was older, like kind of similar to you. I was just like, oh, there's like, it wasn't a dream since I was a little girl to be an NFL cheerleader, but I got older and I saw them. I was like, wait a minute. I can do that. Like, I want to do that. So that's kind of how it happened for me. And then I did just dance, like you said, kind of like you, just had the passion for it and wanted to work really hard.
But I think that's what counts, because I feel like if I would have I think everything happens for a reason. Some of the ladies that are amazing dancers struggle sometimes the hardest just because they go out and they're so used to making it, and then they don't make a pro team. And it's like, why? I should have totally made this team. But I tell a lot of girls it's way more than dance. Yeah. It's the performing aspect and so many other parts that comes. It's a job essentially. So it's a lot that comes with it than just dancing.
Yeah, of course. And like doing your research and knowing what each team, because every team is so different. Yep. And knowing, like, kind of taking your style and what your strengths are, and maybe trying to find a not necessarily find a team and fit yourself in there, but kind of know which route you want to take.
Yeah. Because I tell ladies all the time, I'm like, first and foremost, you go out for a team, you're a walking billboard for that team. Like they want to see someone that's going to be a good representation for that team. But then you have so many different teams. It's like, is this team the kind of image that I want? Am I going to be more of a cheerleader or performer, or am I going to be more of a stunter? Or, there's different. So what you're saying makes total sense too. Like, is it a good fit for me or?
Yeah. And I feel like so many people they are on like they have a one track mind of a certain team that they want. And that was me. That was me with Dallas. And that's when I lived in Dallas. And then I didn't want to entertain anything else. But so some of the best advice that I always give now is like, be open-minded to other teams, because you never know. You might think you want this thing really, really badly, but if you just kind of open your mind, because that's what happened to me. And I ended up moving to Miami, and it was the best decision ever. Yeah. And I would have never thought that this would be what I would end up doing. Yep. And
it brought you all the way to this.
Yep. Exactly. And even like beyond dance and beyond cheer, just the things that it's brought me in addition to that. It's crazy. Right. Like you said, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. One young lady I was helping train and get some insight to a little bit, she tried out for the Panthers like 3 times. And I told her, I said, you're an amazing dancer, you're beautiful. But there's something that they see in you because they keep bringing you back to semifinals and finals, but it's something that they're not seeing. So maybe try another team. And she went to Atlanta and knocked it out the park and made it her first year. And I'm like, that's the team that was for you. Like, you know,
that's your team.
Yep. So I agree.
Things aren't always what we planned them to be. Nothing ever goes as planned in my world. I'll just say that much.
At all.
Oh my goodness. So I wanted to talk about, like, since we're kind of in audition season, what advice would you give to girls? I know we've kind of been talking about it this whole time, but advice, just general advice, maybe people specifically, like different advice you would give for people trying out for NBA versus NFL, and just kind of general advice that you would give anyone.
And like you said, I think we touched on a lot just talking in general. I think one of the things I really like to tell ladies if it's more generalized, is make sure you, kind of like you had said, make sure you know the team you're going out for. Make sure you research the team you're going out for. It's easy to make a list and say, I'm going to try out for this team. And if this doesn't work, I'm going to try out for this team. And if this doesn't work, then maybe. And sometimes that can just be, I think, a little, I don't want to say overzealous, but it could just be a lot. Like, and I tell ladies, take it one phase or one day at a time. If you're going to try out for this team, make sure you know the team. Make sure you at least know some background. Know at least their starter, their quarterback, or, the owner of the team. Know some background on the cheerleaders or the dance team. Know the mascot. Know the colors. Yeah. Just things like that. And then making sure you focus in on the instructions of auditions. Are you supposed to wear briefs? Are you supposed to wear bloomers? Not every team wants you to wear the colors. Wear something that's going to be flattering on your skin tone. I'm trying out for the Panthers. I love that Carolina blue, but maybe a pop of red will make me stand out more in a sea of other ladies that are everybody's going to wear that Panther blue. And just making sure you know the team you're going out for. And follow that path. I tell ladies, if you're going to, focus on making it past the first round. We know the ultimate goal is to make the team, but you make it past prelims, then you're doing something right. You make it past semifinals, you're still doing something right. So just staying focused on that goal and just taking it one step at a time. I've seen ladies try out for teams, and maybe that team said, hey, the theme for this year's auditions is all black. We're wearing all black, come in your whatever. And I'll see individuals show up in the team colors or something else. And I'm like, she did not read.
Well, yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah. So that kind of stuff stands out to a coach, Now, sometimes some ladies may be able to slide through because it's like, oh, maybe she didn't pay attention, or I'm going to give her a second chance. But I guess that's what I mean when I say research the team, make sure you know some insight. I've also been in a room with a young lady who they had referenced the Panthers mascot, and she had no idea what that was. And so I think to be recognized, she raised her hand and asked, well, what is that? And I'm like, no.
Oh, like, wrong thing to be recognized for.
And so they were like, that's the Panthers mascot. And it was kind of like, ew. So it's like, just knowing what team you're going out for and just some of the basics. No one says you have to know like all of the history, all of the past owners and the starting lineup. But I would say just in a generalized statement, just making sure you know the team you're going out for and all the things they're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that's so important too, because when you're in the position, fans love to like try to catch you off guard. I remember like I would be at games and appearances and fans would be like, I don't know, just throw some random question at me. And I'm like, I swear you're just asking me this because you want me to trip up and not answer it correctly.
They don't think we know.
Will just be like, or they'll just generic questions like, who's your favorite player? Or like, what do you think of the draft last week? Or the, random things. So it's so important because you don't want a fan to be like, oh, the cheerleaders are stupid because she didn't answer that question.
Exactly what they'll say. They'll say that. Yeah. They won't say, Jenny, I talked to Jenny, and no, they're going to say, oh, those cheerleaders don't know anything about this team. And I tell ladies that too. Like, and I think they do that to try to see if we know what's going on. Like, what do you think of our first round draft pick? Like, what do you mean? We didn't have first round. Like, or we didn't have the first draft pick. Yeah. But they totally do that. But it does help to know, like, that was a big thing for, I think 1 year, might have been my third year auditioning for Panthers. And part of our audition process was, we did the draft party. Like all the finalists did the draft party because it fell right into the draft.
That's fun.
Yeah. And so you still feel like you're in pins and needles because you're like, is this a real fan or is this someone the staff sent us to talk to us?
Are they tricking me right now?
Yeah. Are we getting quizzed? But no, that was fun. But
that's fun.
Yeah. But at the same time, it was like, still know your stuff. Like, you know, we were in the first round, but we didn't have the first draft pick. Like, what number draft pick are we? Oh, 13 or whatever the case may be. But just knowing your stuff, because they're looking, and now that I'm on the other side, I kind of have a little more insight to those kinds of things that, but
for sure. What about like the audition process in general for NFL versus NBA? Is it a very similar process or?
Let's see. I'm trying to compare the two. I would think they're pretty similar in a sense of, you have the first round, typically, they're cuts. You have the second round, typically, semifinals or prelims round 2, whichever it may be, and they're cuts. I feel like it's bounced back and forth with both teams, whether you come in, you need to have a freestyle versus, or you learn choreography on that first round. Just like trying to compare the two side by side, they are pretty similar. Again, the styles are different. And I know I tell ladies that too, that are trying out. And it's probably like this. I feel like it's like this in Miami with the Dolphins versus the Heat dancers. Like the look is a little different. Like I know with NFL, a lot of people like to use the term and say like girl next door or like more like, of course, professional, but still like sweet versus in an NBA. When I initially went, because I also told people part of my story is I tried out for the team that was before the Hornets. It was the Bobcats. So that team was the Lady Cats. And I tried out for the Lady Cats and I did not make it. And it was one of those things where I tell people, I don't feel like I was supposed to be a Lady Cat. And then they changed the name from Bobcats to Hornets. And then when I tried out again for the Hornets, I made it that year. But the look was different. So I feel like the Lady Cats have more of a sexy look. And me coming from Panthers, that was like a huge, like, I was still like girl next door type look. Like, she's too sweet to be on this team. We're not going to pick her.
That's what I always thought about NBA because I was never a really strong like hip hop dancer though. So I feel like that was never my thing. But I always loved watching them.
Yeah.
I love watching
a lot
NBA.
more of that. Yeah. You see more of that with NBA style versus on a football field. I feel like you see less of it. But I feel back to your original question, I feel like the style or the audition process is pretty much the same. Like, I don't feel like it was as now my first year trying out for TopCats, and I tell people it's not like this, or it hasn't been. It was 2 months long, kind of like Dallas. So we
like a training camp.
So we started in March, and we didn't find out who made the team until like May. And so, but we moved into the locker room. We got practice attire. We got poms. So you felt like you were on the team. And there were still cuts to be made.
Yeah, that's similar to Dolphins too. We did. So my rookie season, we did a whole photo shoot. They shot their calendar, and some of us rookies got to go, but we still weren't like
on the team yet.
They hadn't announced the team. So I'm sitting here like I could either be in the calendar as a rookie and make this team, or I could get cut altogether and like those photos will just go in the trash can. So it was and
wild. You realize what you're losing. Like
they show you what you have to lose, and it makes it. Oh my gosh, it makes it that much more
harder.
Like it makes you want it that much more.
But no, I feel that. So in that instance, the audition process was way different than NBA when I compare it like that, because NBA at that time, you went out for auditions that Saturday. By that Thursday, you knew if you made the team or not. And so that was very short. In comparison to even TopCats year 2, 3, and 4, that it was a little lengthier than just like shy of a week.
That's I feel like as a dancer you want that because it's like it'll save me 3 months of stress, but also I understand why they do it, because you really get to know throughout a training camp process,
Oh yeah.
you really get to know the girls. You know, do you show up on time?
Yes.
How do you perform under pressure? Or how do you pick up dances fast? Like there's so much that I feel like you could be the most amazing dancer at a weekend long audition process, but can you last 3 months doing that over and over and over? So I definitely understand why they do it.
I do too. I also say this, with you saying that, we used to also do like Saturday rehearsals on the football field. And I just comparing the two, you know, I feel like NFL was a lot more just our call time for game day. Game starts at 1:00. Our call time would sometimes be at like 7, 8 a.m. And we're there, you know, we have to do field rehearsal. And then you come back in and you eat and shower, whatever you need to do, hair, makeup, versus NBA, the call time, you know, you're talking about a game on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. The call time was typically at like 4:00.
Yeah, so it's a shorter day.
Shorter day for sure. Versus NFL, it was like top of the morning.
Oh, damn.
Game starts at 1. You're not walking out of there until close to 5. So
yeah. And you got to get there at like 7 a.m. Oh yeah, that was Sundays were a all day thing. Oh my gosh.
Did you guys do field rehearsals on the field on game day?
We couldn't because Miami has real grass. It's not turf.
Oh, okay.
And so they wouldn't let us. That grass is like their baby.
I know.
Like,
well, that was the same with us. The only way we did field rehearsal, the Panthers had the practice field where you could walk to right from the real field.
Oh,
so we would do our rehearsals on the practice field, which helped, but it didn't mimic exactly, obviously, like the real field. And like you said, the real field was grass versus turf. That's different. And the practice field was turf.
Our practice, Miami's actually building one right now. So they're about to have a ginormous practice facility right next to the stadium. But when I was there, the practice bubble was what we call it, like 20 minutes away. So we would practice like leading up, but our last practice would be Thursday evening. And then we'd have to show up on Sunday. We couldn't really, we couldn't mark our yard lines or anything.
That's hard.
It was always kind of stressful.
Yep. I tell my girls that now. I'm like, they get a field rehearsal on the arena football field about 2 hours before kickoff. And I'm like, this is lucky because not everyone gets that to set formations on the field. Like you just got to get out there and know what yard marker you're on or where in the end zone you're at. So
we always wished that we had that because that would be so helpful just to like ease your nerves. It made it so much more nerve-wracking to go out there and be like, oh, we haven't practiced this in 3 days. Like I hope I remember my yard lines. Like it's just the whole environment is so different from being in a little practice facility than being on a field on game day. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's live. It's like you don't get to run a dress rehearsal. This is live. The fans are in the stands. You just gotta go for it.
You guys gotta go for it. Oh, awesome. Well, I guess we'll kind of start to wrap this up. Is there anything else that you wanted to like share or add or advice or I don't know, just anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, no, I think we covered everything. Like this was great. Like it's always great talking about this because I like to tell people that there's not a lot of us. And while more ladies are coming out, as ladies grow up and graduate from college and all that fun stuff, more ladies are getting in tune with this whole pro world. But I like to say, like, I tell ladies, if you're on a pro team or to make a pro team, know that you've accomplished something big. Because if you take 30 something, I don't think it's it's definitely not all 42 teams, I believe, when we're talking about NFL or NBA. And you multiply the number times an average of 30 girls per team, that's not a big number.
Yeah.
And so really make a team, when you think about it on that scale, it's like, that's pretty darn big. Like that's the farthest, we be able to get on the pro level when it comes to NBA and NFL. Yeah. So I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that is awesome when you put it in perspective like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the reason I wanted to start this podcast is because I feel like like you said, there's so many girls out there that want to know more about pro cheer, how to get involved. And I feel like there's not that many resources or people don't really tell it like it is. You know what I mean? They'll just sugarcoat everything. So I wanted an outlet for people to be able to get real raw advice and hear stories and just know what it's really like, because it's not, you know, all perfect all the time, but also there's things that I wish I would have known when I was getting involved that I didn't know, because people just like to sugarcoat things. So I wanted a authentic, just like outlet for people.
It's not all glitz and glam. And I tell people, especially if you're trying out for a team and you don't make it the first time or you don't make it the second time, like that's almost the lay of the land now. You're great. You're awesome either way, but I don't want to say you're lucky, but if you make it the first time around, that's not everyone's story. Like it takes you trying out, 1 or 2 times. Now I do like to say, if you've tried out for a team like 5 times, like let it go and go do something else. Do another team. Like they're giving you a sign.
Find the team that's meant for you.
Yes, but no, it's a lot behind all the glitz and glam. There's a lot. I have a lot of girls that dance for Pro Force now, and they freak out hitting the field, and we haven't even been at full capacity. And I'm like, I try to tell them, enjoy it, embrace it, because the fans, they just are excited to see you perform. They don't know your choreography. And those are things I wish I knew when I was running out on the field, freaking out.
Yeah.
Looking at my teammate, like, what's the next 8 count? I can't remember. We're about to run out. So it's like, just have fun, because once it's over, it's over.
Yeah. So. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this was fun. Thank you so much for joining. I loved learning about your background and your story, and your Instagram handles here are simply Shelby. So everyone give her a follow. I'm sure if you have any questions, she'd love to answer.
If I didn't answer them here. I appreciate you having me, Jenny. You're great. Like, feel free to have me back if you'd like.
Of course.
And give more insight.
Well, thank you. It was fun.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for tuning in. We'll have another episode here hopefully next week. So we'll see you next time. Hey everyone, I'm Jenny Smith, former NFL cheerleader and founder of Built for the Palms. I can't. No. Why do we do this? I can't wait for you to join our squad and begin this journey of becoming Built for the Palms.
I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't gotta keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't gotta keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't gotta keep the flame on max. I'ma keep it going till there ain't none left. Going till there ain't gotta keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame on. Gotta keep the flame